Story 1. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I am 41. I work. I pay my rent and bills. I exercise. I have hobbies. I have a partner. Too old to have kids. Too poor to buy a house. What am I supposed to be working toward at this point? Story 2. How would you describe yourself? I end up having to explain that I live by the motto of, you are 1,000 different people to 1,000 different people. And perception and experience are so wildly subjective that you could either be the hero or the villain, depending on who's asking. Story 3. When people find out I'm a paramedic, they often ask, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? I understand people don't mean anything by it and are just curious, but I'm not about to bring all of that trauma back to the surface for anyone's entertainment. Story 4. I have 3 teenage kids, ages 16, 16, and 18. My eldest is in college. I work for DoorDash so I can accommodate the schedule of my sons, who are in high school. I'm frequently asked, so what are you going to do once they're in college? What's your next chapter? Or, once they're in school, do you think you'll get a job in your major area? Zoology? I actually like doing DoorDash, but it makes me feel like people don't see it as a real job. That makes me sad because I work hard. Story 5. Leading questions. For example, how many cards are in your hand? How much of your mana is tapped? What is your life total? Do you understand how to play with the chains of Mephistopheles? Story 6. This was especially true when I was younger, under the age of 12. But when you go to the doctor and they ask, have you ever had sex? Or, have you ever been pregnant, or are you pregnant? Story 7. I have been asked at least a dozen times from which country I adopted my girls, as they look Asian and I'm white. I birthed both of them, and I have the scar to prove it. Story 8. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I could get into an accident and face danger on my way out of this building today, so how should I know? If it was worded, what do you want to be doing in 5 years? That I could handle. Story 9. What do you think? I reckon about 90% of the time my opinion differs from the popular one, and then it either becomes a debate or the group teams up to tell me why I'm wrong. So if it's about popular culture, television, music, celebrities, sports, I just remain non-committal. If it's work, then I pick my battles. Pro tip. Meetings end faster this way. Story 10. Typical small talk questions make me uncomfortable because I have been stalked before by giving someone very little information about myself. Questions like, where did you go to school? Do you live alone or have roommates? Where do you work? Make the alarm bells go off in my head. Story 11. Why I am still single, why I do not want kids. What are the last 4 digits of your social security number? Are you interested in meeting beautiful women from Russia? Story 12. So when are you going to settle down with someone? First off, I do not want kids. Second, I am on disability. I cannot get married without losing part of my income. Third, forget you. Story 13. Questions about my life choices. First, it's my business. Second, they want a simple answer, and a decision usually has a couple of complex factors that I know not everyone can understand. Story 14. I get weird about being asked about my dating life. I do not know why. I usually keep that stuff very private. I love my partner and enjoy the time with her, but I get really shy when people ask me things about our relationship. Story 15. I spent 17 years in prison, so when anyone asks me a lot of questions quickly, I get nervous. Or when I go to the doctor and the nurse says, what are you here for? I always get worried I'm going to tell them murder and not my symptoms. Story 16. Questions about my family. I had a difficult upbringing, and I'm not going to share any of that with most people, so I just have to come up with generic non-answers. I don't need people with no experience in the matter telling me that I should love them regardless of what they've done because they're family. Story 17. When you fill out those questionnaires at the doctor and they ask questions like, how many drinks per week? I'm not sure if I'm uncomfortable with the drinking or just the question, though, because I also get weird at some of the other questions that aren't judging me. Story 18. What's going on? This is always asked by one particular coworker, and I can't figure out whether he just wants to be different from the normal, how's it going, or is trying to make sure I'm keeping busy. Either way, I hate it. Story 19. about my family, husband, immediate family, especially from coworkers. I'm introverted and rigid about keeping work and personal life separate. I don't feel comfortable with all of those getting to know you better team building games. Story 20. If my children were a surprise, I am married, have a career, and understand how sex works. I even get this with my second pregnancy. Why do you all want to know if I am engaging without protection for a purpose? Haha. Story 21. When are you going to have kids? I got asked this a lot when I was a kid in middle school by adults. I just think it is gross to ask even if they are of age to have kids. Story 22. Probing my religion questions. As an atheist, this only leads to an uncomfortable conversation I usually don't have the energy for. Even if I wasn't atheist, it's kind of a rude question, at least outside of the Bible Belt and the Middle East. Story 23. When he was still around, my dad used to always ask me, "How is your weight?" Then go on for about half an hour on what I should be doing differently. Sometimes I miss him, but I certainly do not miss the weekly 2-hour phone calls to lecture me. Story 24. What questions make you feel uncomfortable? Who are you? Why are you in my house? It's 3 a.m. Man, people can really make me feel uncomfortable these days. Story 25. Does not make me feel uncomfortable, but I think it is goofy when someone asks a question like, "What are your top 5 favorite things?" It presumes I have already mentally ranked the things in some order, which usually is not the case. I take the question as an opportunity to divert the conversation to anything else I want to talk about. Story 26. So you know what X is? Yes. What is it? I swear, unless X is a very niche concept, this is so unnecessary. If my word is not enough, how about you start by explaining what X is? Or do you want to nitpick my hasty description with your prepared definition? You know what? Forget it. I changed my mind. Enlighten me. What is X? Story 27. Anything regarding my sexual preferences that aren't for my partner. I'm fairly certain that this is something most people find uncomfortable. But for me, it's really bad and just awkward as hell. Story 28. Oddly, what do you like to do? Or tell me about yourself. It's hard to explain when you don't do much, but you never get bored and have a rich inner life. Like, shrugging? Story 29. How is your sister? Context. My sister has borderline personality disorder. She manipulated me and most of my family for my whole life. I used to look up to her like any little brother. I'd easily believe any lie she told me. First, it started off as little white lies that no one cared about. But they grew, and she used to tell me that our mom was abusive to her, and as soon as she left, our mom would take it out on me. I believed her and started to fight with mom. But the next day, she would say that mom is the nicest person on earth. My mom told me not to trust my sister. Confused me, and I didn't know who was telling the truth. But eventually, my sister started to get aggressive the second she didn't have her phone. She would yell at my mom and anyone. She would break stuff and steal. Nothing else matters but her phone to her. She tried to run away so many times, but my mom, who cared about her, would look for her each time. It was taking a big toll on my mom and wasn't helping with her cancer. My sister almost ran off to get sex trafficked 3 times, but my mom saved her each time. And all this isn't even half of it. The day she moved, the house was instantly more peaceful. I can easily say I hate her with a passion. I will never forgive her for what she did to my mom and grandparents. I wish for nothing but the worst for her. Story 30. Anything that starts with, "Why are you still?" Like, why are you still single? Why are you still at that job? Or why are you still living there? Feels like an attack disguised as curiosity, as if I need to justify my life choices to someone who probably isn't even walking in my shoes. Story 31. What church do you go to? I grew up in Alabama. This was asked of me way too often. Most were crestfallen when I told them I was Catholic. Now a Reformed Catholic. Story 32. So how is your girlfriend doing? She is a longtime friend I often hang out with, but my family constantly calls her my girlfriend no matter how many times I try to correct them. Can't a man and a woman be friends without anything romantic between them? It would get awkward when I was dating someone. And when I had her over, my family would say, "But I thought you and she were together? We have never dated." Story 33. Asking me why I don't have a Facebook and then telling me you don't understand social media but like keeping track of people. Things like, I get news the old-fashioned way. I bring it up in conversation. I don't know anything about it. Story 34. My boyfriend and I have been together for 5 years. His sister recently had a baby. Before this, his parents were joking about when we were having kids. Now it's every single visit. Where are our grandkids? This baby gives you baby fever, doesn't it? It's all jokes, I understand, but it makes me freeze in place. Story 35. I don't like when new colleagues get unprofessionally interested in my private space, asking about family, kids, and so on. I never discuss or am interested in that matter myself. I discuss my workplace and our common records and information we need to update. Likewise, I will discuss my psychosocial environment at work, casual routines, and so on. Story 36. My parents got divorced when I was young, which I am fine with telling people. But it's very uncomfortable when they want me to go into details and explanations. Story 37. I had a colleague who constantly asked about my husband's job future. The company was looking at redundancies, and I didn't want to discuss it, so I kept saying, "I don't know." She then started asking the customers about my husband's job future. Story 38. Anything in regards to why I won't get along with my abusive older brother. On an interesting note, I work in the medical field doing registration, and I noticed that when I ask people about their religion, they get very uncomfortable to the point that some give a nervous laugh. I assure everyone we are doing so with good intentions. Many people aren't aware that some religions prohibit certain things like blood transfusions, and we want to make sure we are respectful. Story 39. Questions about my sexuality or sex life. I'm a bisexual woman married to a man, happily monogamous. You'd be surprised how many people ask me if this means my bisexuality was just a phase. Story 40. Why aren't you talking with the rest of us? Why are you wearing headphones right now? Why didn't you laugh at the joke? That's not a joke. Why did you say it? Story 41. What are you? Same as what is your background or ethnicity? None of your business. How much did that cost from someone who isn't close to us? Crass questions from people who weren't taught manners. Story 42. Why are you sad? Not smiling? How are you? As a part of the conversation, we both say, "I'm good." While it's such a lie, and we both know it, it makes me feel lonelier than before because I can't express how I really am, as people are not used to this level of openness. Story 43. Can't explain it, but when my parents ask where I am, I'm 30. It probably stems from some weird privacy boundary being constantly overstepped growing up. But yeah, really hate that one. Story 44. Are you okay when you are clearly not, but you do not want to talk about it? It is like they know something is wrong, but it just makes you feel more exposed. Story 45. Whenever they ask a question that's on a deeper level, if that makes sense. It's fine to ask my age, height, interests, etc. But if it's something like my true name, my sexuality, or my mental health, etc., I feel it crosses the line. Story 46. I'm living with my grandparents for a little bit, and here are some questions they have asked during the first couple of days here. What do you think of illegal immigrants? Do you have a girlfriend? Why not? What are your opinions on transgender people? Are you excited for the new president? I need to get them or myself out of here. Story 47. Why do you not have children? I work with the public, and this is a question a stranger actually asked me once. It really hit a nerve because as much as I would love to be a mother, I left an abusive marriage and did not want to bring a child into the equation. Story 48. Depends entirely on who is asking, where I am, who is nearby, etc. I may be comfortable answering any question at home with a close friend, but if a stranger in Walmart asked me about my sex life, I might feel uncomfortable. It's all about context. Your question makes me uncomfortable because it contains no context. Story 49. 30. How old are you? I've gotten this question from colleagues. I feel self-conscious about my age, honestly, and am wary of revealing it because then it brings the uncomfortable question, Why aren't you married yet or have kids? Story 50. Why do you not want to work and make money to provide for your future family? I'm still very young, but life is one of the things that will never make sense to me, you, or anyone. There is no explanation for what you are feeling and what is occurring around you. And personally, I do not want to waste such endless opportunities. Think about what is going on. Think about the vast number of universes. You are one small grain compared to every beach in the world. I want to explore the world. Why not live in a van? Why not camp in the woods for weeks on end? Visit natural beauty. There are infinite possibilities for you and what you choose. Do what you want to do, not what is expected of you. If you only get one go-round to feel feelings, then feel them to the greatest extent. Be passionate with everything you enjoy. Life is a gift. What is existence without feelings? And what are feelings without existing? Do what you want, people. Be your own person. Story 51. Anything related to politics, race, or religion, because I know I'm either talking to somebody who thinks they are God's messenger, somebody involved in the Ku Klux Klan, some crazy political person, or something in between. Story 52. Whether I like my job. People ask because it sounds like an interesting job. I say yes, but usually I am lying. It is the kind of job you are supposed to be passionate about or not do. Story 53. Anything related to how I deal with my body hair, bodily functions, or just intimate body questions, but strangely I'm okay with sex questions of any sort. Story 54. What is your sexuality? Unless you're having sex with the person, it doesn't pertain to you. If you are having sex with the person, only that part pertains to you. I can feel my blood pressure go up whenever I hear this question.